You know, for anyone on this path of presence-driven leadership, there's a question that always comes up, right? It's how do we get to that genuine, deep integration? We're not just talking about learning a new idea, but about a real shift in who we are. So in this explainer, we're going to explore how unmasking the soul is absolutely key to that transformation.
Okay, so when we start talking about things like, drawing your shadow or having a dialogue with a hidden part of yourself, it's pretty easy for a certain word to just pop right into your head. Fluff. It can feel, well, a little soft. Maybe not quite serious enough for the tough realities of leadership. And look, that's a totally fair reaction, but it's a reaction that comes from a very specific place. And that's what we're going to look at right now.
And here's the problem. Our default approach to growth is almost always to try and think our way through it. But that very process, well, it can create what we call the intellectual mask. Think of it as this really sophisticated defense system that, ironically, keeps us from the deeper truths we need for any real change to happen. I mean, think about it. Most leadership training gives you more concepts, more frameworks, just more things to think about. And while that can be valuable, it's all happening on the mind's home turf. So here's the paradox. When your mind tries to solve a problem that it actually helped create, it often just ends up building stronger, more articulate defenses. The mask gets reinforced, not removed.
So this really shows the huge difference in these two approaches. Cognitive training, that keeps us up here, in our heads, in the world of theory. We're just thinking about our challenges. But integrative practice, that's embodied. It involves your senses, and that shift is absolutely profound. You move from just analyzing a shadow to actually housing the soul's truth. It's a completely different level of engagement.
Okay, so if the problem is that we're relying too much on our intellect, the solution has got to involve finding another way in, right? There's a specific mechanism we can use to actually bypass that busy thinking mind and tap into a different kind of wisdom.
Which leads us to the big question then. If our intellect is this powerful tool, but also a potential barrier, how in the world do we get past it to access what's really going on underneath?
Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but also really profound. We engage the parts of us that our intellect often just dismisses as, secondary. Our senses and our imagination. These are like direct pathways to a deeper, more embodied way of knowing that isn't all filtered through our usual mental loops.
So the path to this deeper truth, it starts by engaging the senses. Just the feeling of a pen on paper, for example. That simple physical act starts to activate our imagination, which, isn't stuck in that linear, logical track. And from there, we can access an embodied truth. The insight stops being some abstract idea and it becomes a real, felt, lived experience.
And what's the result of all this? What's the outcome? It is not just some fleeting aha moment. What you get is something we call load-bearing integration. It's an alignment that's so solid, so real, that it can actually carry weight in your life. This phrase right here is so important. Load-bearing. What does that mean? It means the personal transformation you go through can actually withstand pressure. It holds up, not just when you're meditating in a quiet room, but in that tense board meeting or during a really difficult conversation. It's integration that's built for the real world.
So let's define it clearly. What is load-bearing integration? It's a state of alignment where insights become so deeply embodied, like in your very nervous system, that they hold firm under real-world pressure. This is the absolute bedrock of internal authority and true presence-driven leadership.
And when you boil it all down, this is the crucial distinction. We all have tons of ideas about who we want to be, right? This whole process, though, is about closing the gap between an idea you simply have and a truth that you are. It's the move from concept to character.
All right, let's shift from theory to application. Because understanding these concepts is one thing, but actually experiencing them, that's something else entirely. So here's how you can start to practice this for yourself.
So, let's begin with a quick reflection. Just take a moment and consider this. What intellectual mask feels the most familiar to you? Is it the mask of the expert, the one who always has to have the answer, or maybe the stoic professional who's never rattled, or the cheerful optimist? Just notice which one feels like your go-to.
And here is a very simple micro-practice. Seriously, anyone can do this. Find a quiet moment, grab a piece of paper, and without any judgment, just try to draw a shape or an image that represents a shadow for you, some hidden or disowned part of yourself. Let me be clear,
0 art skills are required. The whole point is to just focus on the feeling and the physical act of expression, not on what the final image looks like. Just notice what shows up on the page.
And we'll close with this one last question for you to carry with you, because it really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about today. If your deepest truth had a voice, what would it say that your thinking mind, your intellectual mask, has been working so hard to ignore?